I ranked 5 koi setups by real cost. Number 1 is a $150 tank you'd walk past. Number 5 hits $20,000 and up. I priced all 5 end to end, so you see the breeding cost. Here's why people underestimate koi. They price the fish, not the system. The filtration, the space, the water volume, the winter. And breeding is not 2 fish in a pond. It needs stable water, room to grow thousands of babies, and hard culling. That's where the real money and time hide. Start at the bottom. Setup 1 is a starter indoor tank. Basic keeping, not breeding. You're looking at a 55 to 75 gallon tank, a hang-on or canister filter, dechlorinator to strip the chlorine out of tap water, and a basic test kit. Add a few young pond-grade koi, and your ballpark total lands around $150 to $300. Cheap enough to start this weekend. But here's the hard limit most beginners miss. This tank cannot grow an adult koi. Koi reach 24 to 36 inches. That's a fish the length of your arm. A 75-gallon tank holds one of those the way a phone booth holds a grown man. And it will never breed here. At best, this is a nursery for tiny fish, or a quarantine tank to isolate a sick one. So the entry price is almost nothing. But that raises a question. What does it actually cost to keep a koi alive to adulthood? Now step outside. Setup 2 is an entry outdoor pond. This is real koi keeping. Think a 1,000 to 1,500 gallon liner pond, an external pump, a pressurized filter with an ultraviolet clarifier that keeps the water clear, and aeration to keep oxygen up. Built and running before you buy a single fish. That's roughly $1,500 to $3,000. So why the jump from $300 to $3,000? 2 reasons. A single adult koi needs about 250 gallons of water to itself. That's not a guideline someone made up. A big fish makes a lot of waste, and waste turns into ammonia that poisons the water. The second reason is the filter. A strong biological filter grows the good bacteria that eat that ammonia and keep the water safe. This is the first setup that can actually keep koi healthy for years, but it still won't reliably raise a spawn. When those koi lay eggs, this pond can't protect them. So what changes when you decide to breed? Here's where breeding starts to cost you. Setup 3 is a breeding-ready pond. 3,000 to 5,000 gallons or more, with a dedicated spawning area or a separate spawning vat off to the side. The filtration gets heavier, and the aeration has to be dependable, because a spawn dumps a huge load into the water at once. Ballpark total, roughly $4,000 to $8,000. Let me explain the real cost driver, because it isn't just more gallons. When koi spawn, the male chases the female and she releases eggs, thousands of them, and the whole event fouls the water fast. Ammonia spikes hard. If your filter can't hold the line, you lose the parents and the eggs in a day. So you're not paying for size. You're paying for water that stays stable under a sudden heavy bioload. The total weight of living things straining the system. On top of that, you need the spawning gear itself. Mops and brushes for the eggs to stick to, and a vat to move them into. But eggs are the easy part. What happens when a few thousand of them actually hatch? Now the part nobody budgets for. One spawn is thousands of eggs, so setup 4 is the hidden cost of fry, the baby koi. Those thousands of hatchlings can't all live in one tank, so you need multiple grow-out tanks. They're too small to eat normal food, so you need live first foods. Infusoria, which is basically pond in a jar, then baby brine shrimp. And you need extra filtration to keep all that clean. Add it up, and a single season runs roughly $500 to $1,500 on tanks, food, and filters. But the money isn't the real tax here. The time is. Grow-out tanks need water changes every single day, or the babies die in their own waste. And then comes culling. You started with thousands. You will keep a handful. Week after week, you sort the fry and remove the ones that won't make quality. And most of them go. People are wildly unprepared for that. It's daily labor for weeks, and it's the emotional part of breeding no one warns you about. So who spends real money to do this at a serious level? Here's the top of the mountain. Setup 5 is a serious, quality breeding operation. The ponds and vats get bigger, and there are several of them. You add heated indoor space or a greenhouse, so you control temperature year-round instead of losing winter. Now here's the line item that dominates everything else, the parent fish. A pond-grade koi costs $10 to $40. A proven, quality parent koi costs $500 to $2,000 and up per fish. That's the whole game at this tier. All in, you're looking at $10,000 to $20,000 or more, and it keeps costing after that. Why do the fish outrun the concrete? Because breeding value lives in the bloodline and the pattern. Two great parents can throw a fish worth thousands. Two cheap ones almost never will. So the serious breeder pours money into stock, not structure. The fish, not the pond, not the filters, becomes the single biggest number on the page, which finally lets us line all 5 setups up side by side. So line them up. A starter tank runs $150 to $300. An entry pond, $1,500 to $3,000. A breeding-ready pond, $4,000 to $8,000. Fry season adds $500 to $1,500 on top. And a serious operation runs $10,000 to $20,000 or more. Now the real answer to what breeding actually costs. The pond is just the entry fee. What turns keeping into breeding is 3 things. Water that stays stable under a heavy load, grow-out space and food for thousands of babies, and quality parent stock. That's the spend most people never see coming. So match the setup to your goal. Don't buy an $8,000 breeding pond to keep 3 pet koi. And don't try to breed in a starter tank. You'll drown thousands of babies in a bucket. Honest costs match to honest goals. Here's the one thing to carry with you. The gap between keeping koi and breeding koi isn't the fish. It's water stability and grow-out space. If you can't hold your water quality steady through a spawn's ammonia spike, and you don't have room to raise thousands of babies you'll mostly cull, you're keeping koi, not breeding them. And that's a fine place to be. Keeping is a hobby. Breeding is a small operation with daily labor. Know which one you actually want before you spend $1. So that's the map. The jump from keeping to breeding runs from a few $100s to 5 figures, and the pond is the cheapest part. Next up, I'm walking through raising and culling one full spawn season, start to finish. Subscribe and that breakdown comes to you. Prices are ballparks and vary by region and build.